Bimbo returned home from school, puzzled at who she saw in her school that day. Their maid's daughter, Taif, resumed at her school that morning, and Bimbo could not stand the fact that she was attending the same school with her maid's daughter. She approached her mother, Simi, who could not understand how her maid Busy was able to afford the exorbitant fees of the school. "Are you sure Busy has not been stealing from me?" she asked her daughter, who stared at her blankly and watched as she yelled out for the maid, who ran out to meet her madam on hearing her name. "How and why is your daughter Taif enrolled in my daughter's school?" Busy stood there confused as her heart began to race. She finally summoned the courage to tell her madam that her daughter Taif was chosen to attend the school on scholarship. An individual, who preferred to remain anonymous, decided to sponsor her daughter in the school, paying all her fees up front. She told her madam that she was so shocked to hear the news as the school contacted her to reveal that her daughter's fees, up till the day of her graduation, had been paid in full by the anonymous sponsor. Bimbo and her mother were stunned to hear this. "How can my maid's daughter attend the same school as my own daughter?" Simi screamed out angrily, as she made up her mind to get to the root of the matter. The next morning, Simi visited the school to see the school's principal, who happened to be her friend. She voiced her concerns, trying to know who this scholarship sponsor was, and if it was possible for the school to refuse the sponsorship and send Taif out of their school. But the principal revealed to her that the information she sought was above her pay grade, as only the owner of the school knew who this anonymous sponsor was. She revealed that all payments and arrangements were made through the owner of the school, and Bimbo's mother, on hearing this, knew that it would be so difficult to get this information from just anyone. She pleaded with the principal to transfer Busy's daughter to a less expensive school nearby, as she could not tolerate the idea of her maid's daughter attending the same school as her daughter, and the principal, shocked to hear her request, replied her saying that she had no power to grant such a request, as only the owner of the school or the parent of the child can request for such a transfer. Simi, feeling so disappointed, returned home agitated as she thought of what else to do. "I should speak to Teo at the office," she thought to herself, as she remembered that Teo had a close relationship with the new CEO of their company, who happened to also be the owner of her daughter's school. She arrived at the office the next day, then spoke to Teo, who revealed to her that their CEO had traveled and was scheduled to return in 3 months to announce their promotion. Simi was so excited to hear this because she had waited for this promotion for a very long time. The death of their former CEO put a halt to the whole process. And now, with the new CEO in place, things were finally moving forward. However, with the brewing case of her maid's daughter attending her daughter's school, Simi had to act fast before people got to know about the situation. She returned home and could not stop thinking about what people would say if they found out that her maid's daughter was now in her daughter's school. Simi enrolled her daughter in the prestigious school as a way of showing off her wealth to her friends, who envied her and strived to be like her. Now, with her maid's daughter attending the same school, she believes that her social standing was now threatened. How can she boast of her status when her maid's daughter was in the same class as her own child? Simi's thoughts spiraled as she became more determined to resolve the situation. She called Busy to her room and offered to pay for her daughter's fees in a less expensive school in the village, promising to also give Busy a huge amount of money that she could use to sustain her life, but Busy seemed not to be interested in her offer. She respectfully told Simi that the school was her daughter's dream school, and that her daughter looked forward to be considered for the yearly overseas scholarship the school offered to its selected students. She pleaded with Simi to allow her daughter study at the school, promising that Taif will not be a bother to anyone, but Simi insisted that her daughter cannot be in the same school as her maid's daughter. She told Busy to withdraw her daughter from the school or face her wrath, and Busy left her presence, confused as to what to do. How can I squash my daughter's dream even before it has even begun? Busy spent her night deep in thoughts, her heart heavy with worry as she could not stand hurting her own daughter, who had spent years praying for an opportunity like this. The next morning, as Taif dressed up for school, her mother Busy called her to the side to explain all that was happening. Simi is not happy with the idea of you attending the same school as Bimbo. She wants me to move you to another school and has promised to pay all your fees up front, she said to Taif, who now had a frown on her face. How about the scholarship, Mama? Taif asked her mother, who stood there confused as she had no answer for her daughter. Mother, this scholarship is my dream, please don't let them take it away from me, Taif said, as she cried out to her mother, who could feel the pain in her daughter's heart. Taif stood there confused, unsure of if she should go to school or not. Her mother, seeing her fully dressed in her uniform, struggled to make a decision. Go to school, she said to Taif, whose eyes lit in joy as she rushed out of the house excitedly. Busy arrived Simi's home and was confronted by Simi, who asked what her decision was, and Busy, with tears in her eyes, pleaded with Simi not to squash her daughter's dreams. It is all she has. Please don't take it away from her, Busy said to her boss, who was not willing to listen to her. Busy had never seen Simi so angry in her entire life. She spent the whole day thinking, worried about what the next day would bring. She knew that her daughter's future was on the line and had to find a way to protect it. The next morning, Simi called Busy into her room again. Her face was stern as she spoke to Busy in a very cold tone. I have made my decision, she said to Busy, who she gave the option of withdrawing her daughter from the school or leaving her house forever. She even went further to threaten Busy, saying that she would do everything within her power to ensure that Busy never got a job around if she decides to go against her wish by leaving her daughter in the school. Busy's heart sank. She had worked for Simi for almost a year and knew what Simi was capable of doing. She could not afford losing her job because it was her only means of livelihood. Now, she found herself torn between risking it all or succumbing to the pressures of her madam, who she knew would stop at nothing to see that Taif leaves her daughter's school. Madam, please, Busy begged. Taif has worked so hard for this opportunity. She deserves a chance at a better future. Simi's expression did not change. She told Busy that she had until the end of the week to make her decision. As the days went by, Busy searched desperately for a solution. She spoke to her daughter about it, and Taif, seeing how serious the situation had gotten, agreed to take up Simi's offer to change her school. This was a huge sacrifice that she was willing to make, as Taif could not stand and watch her mother's life turn to ruins, so she decided to sacrifice her scholarship dreams to make sure that her mother's life is not ruined. Busy, however, decided to wait till the end of the week before informing Simi of her decision. She had no inkling why, but her resolve was so strong. Taif arrived school that morning and sat on her desk when Bimbo and her friends walked in to harass her. Look who we have here, Bimbo said mockingly. The maid's daughter thinks she belongs here, she continued as she laughed aloud with her friends. Taif looked up, trying to remain calm. I'm just here to study, Bimbo, please leave me alone. Leave you alone? Bimbo laughed mockingly. Why should I leave you alone when you do Not belong here. Taif, this is not your place, why don't you go back to where you belong? With the other poor kids? She said to Taif as her friends joined in, taunting Taif further. They made fun of her clothes and even poured her lunch on her uniform as they all laughed. And called her a pig, making a grunting sound. Taif felt tears pour down her eyes. She stood up, gathered her things, and walked out of the classroom, feeling so humiliated. As Bimbo's friends continued to grunt like a pig and laugh. The bullying continued over the coming days, as Bimbo utilized every opportunity to humiliate Taif. She pushed Taif into a puddle of water in front of the school, soiling her entire uniform. She even went as far as flushing Taif's books in the school toilet. Bimbo did everything within her power to make Taif's life miserable, but this did not deter Taif, who decided never to allow Bimbo's actions to break her spirit. Instead, Taif decided within herself to remain strong and focused on that which is important. Meanwhile, the day finally arrived when Busy was mandated to inform Simi of her decision. She stood there, lost in her own thoughts, when Simi's husband, Chief Folaren, walked in on her in the living room and noticed how absent-minded she looked. He had just returned home and was shocked to see her worried. "Why do you look troubled?" he asked Busy, who could not bring herself to tell him all that was happening. Busy feared what her madam would do to her if she realized that she had such a discussion with her husband. Chief Folaren was a very wealthy man who lived with his first wife, Madam Eo. He did not live permanently with Simi because she was his second wife, but he visited her at intervals and spent a few days with her. He was such a powerful and influential man, and Simi ensured that she was of her best behavior whenever he was around. Busy, knowing all this, pretended to be fine, wearing a huge smile on her face as Chief Folaren instructed her to tell his driver to go pick something up for him from his office. A few minutes later, Simi returned home and met Busy. She asked what her decision was, and Busy fell to the ground and pleaded with her to be more considerate, but Simi informed her that she would never allow their daughters to attend the same school. She yelled angrily, then told Busy that if she was not ready to bend to her demands, she should leave her house immediately and never return to work. Just as she was yelling, her husband Chief Folaren, who was sitting in the adjoining room, overhearing their conversation and quickly understood what was going on. He walked in on them, looking so disappointed at his wife, as he said to her that if she cannot allow their daughter to attend the same school as Busy's daughter, then she should consider changing their daughter's school. "What is wrong with Busy's daughter attending the same school as our daughter?" he asked his wife, who stammered for a few seconds, unable to give a viable answer. She was so shocked to see him in their home, as had no idea that he was around.